Hey there, I'm Tom Zuba, and I'm the guy with the two dead kids and the dead wife. And this is episode 5 already of my brand new podcast called Becoming Radiant. Last night, I had the privilege, really, and the honor of having a conversation with my nephews, Danny and Sam Zuba. They're my brother John's kids. And they are in an amazing band called the Early Sixes. And tonight, I'm going to have a conversation with the lead singer, Matt. I don't really know Matt, but this is Matt's voice. So I'm going to bring Matt on right now.
Hey. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's your new single, Matt.
Yep. How's it going?
How does that feel?
I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome to, to have it out. I think that song is wrote that last July. So yeah, it's weird, to actually have these start to come out. But yeah, it's awesome.
So that song, is that all you wrote the whole song?
I mean, like lyrically, right? Yeah, I mean, we everything we run stuff by each other and all that, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely one that was one that I didn't we didn't really talked about any solid album plans or anything like that. It just, you know, kind of was we were moving and it just felt like something to do, right? So yeah.
So when you say we were moving, I introduced you before I brought you on. This is Matt, the lead singer of the Early Sixes. You moved from where to where, and who's we?
So we moved from, oh, by the way, is this podcast or are we just chatting?
Oh, no. We're being recorded, and it's going to be video and it's going to be audio.
Gotcha. Oh, good. I'm glad I did. I was gonna test out this whole setup, and I was like, oh, it's a good time to start catching up with Tom. Awesome. So yeah, so we were moving from Arlington Heights, Illinois, to Irvine, California, in Orange County. And the we is my wife Michelle, and then my two boys, and then at the time we didn't know we had a baby girl also moving with us, so she is now um 7 months old. But yeah.
So did you guys grow up in Arlington Heights?
No, I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago. Michelle, my wife, grew up in Rockford. um we met in college, and we lived in Chicago for Lakeview area for quite some time, and then once we started having kids, we moved out to the suburbs, and yeah, that's where we were till we
So
moved here.
so I told folks that last night I had a really, really powerful conversation with Danny and Sam. Did Michelle know them from Rockford?
Yeah, Michelle went to school with, I don't want to misquote here, but I think she went to school with Dan since first grade or second grade or something like that. Um, and yeah, I met so one of the first, I knew some people from high school that went to college, DePaul, but one of the first friends I made DePaul was Nate, our cello player, and another friend there, and they introduced me to Michelle. That's how I kind of got to know all these guys, actually.
So what was your major at Depaul?
Oh, geez, what wasn't? Everything. I did a bit of everything. Yeah, marketing, design. I ended up with marketing. But I actually didn't go straight in I'm in marketing in my day job, but I went to, I was a paramedic after college, actually, oddly enough. And then I went back to marketing and design. So yeah,
What did Michelle major in?
marketing as well. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
marketing was the birthplace of the romance.
Um, I guess you could say that. I mean, we weren't in classes or anything together. So yeah. Um, very different areas, but yeah.
Okay, marketing, paramedics. I do know that you designed the website for you guys.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is, I mean, it is quite spectacular. And when we're offline, I do want to talk with you about designing my website because I absolutely love the way that flows on on the phone. That is really, really cool. But
Yeah.
when in your life did you realize you were actually a musician, that you were a singer?
Oh, a singer? I don't know if I mean, I don't know if I realized that now, but I always, loved music. I was not like someone who um, took music classes or anything like that. I was a fan, honestly. Like the first reason I got a guitar and electric guitar was like Blink 182 and that whole thing. So I started playing and kind of teaching myself in like later high school time. And then I just kind of always did in the background. I was in like a couple bands in college, doing bass guitar, things like that. But yeah, and then I never really was like a singer or anything like that until we did the early sixes, and it was kind of like by default we needed someone to do it. So I kind of like still am trying my best to learn how to do that.
So
Yeah.
in your other bands when you were in high school and when you were in college, did you sing backup?
Yeah, like that type of thing, but not any, they were, more like rock punk bands, so there was no thought of having to sing that much on key or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So when you were in high school, did you take chorus or madrigals or anything?
no,
Huh.
no, nothing like that. No.
What is it? Okay, so you're an adult now, you're married, you have a couple of kids. What does it feel like for you to step in the role of the lead singer of a band?
um I mean, I don't know, I don't know if I really see it like that, like I don't know, I don't really see it like it's any different than any other member of the band, I guess. Like I think like it is, it was a little exposed first few shows we did and things like that. So it's definitely um, and I'm not a big like public speaker or anything like that in general. So more so the singing, the interstitials between the singing was always a little more stressful for me than the singing itself.
Yeah, there's a little known female singer. I'm gonna tell you her name in a minute.
Hmm.
And what's remarkable is she says that every single time she gets in front of a crowd, she gets sick, she gets nauseous, she's positive she's not good enough really to go on. She's wondering,
Yeah.
why did I do this? This is going to be my final tour. I mean, her name is Barbara Streisand. Have you ever heard of her?
I have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the probably best singers of all time, and she's not really sure of herself as a singer.
Yeah.
Um, but that the last song on the album, the song that Sam wrote, Saved You.
Hmm.
So I was talking with them last night, and I have listened to your album. I told them last night 25 times. I've listened to it twice today, so I'm up to 27. And every time I listen to it, my favorite song changes.
Yeah.
But that last song, I mean, that is haunting. That
Oh,
sticks with me. That
yeah.
that is riveting. And what they said is they gave you the lyrics, when they finally finished it, you did your thing, you sent it to them, and that was it. I mean, they were blown away. Sam said he had to go out and walk and walk and walk, and think,
I remember that. I
right,
remember that because I sent it to him and I was like, "Oh, I hope he doesn't hate it," because I
yeah,
hadn't heard from him.
yeah.
Normally, he texts me right back, but yeah.
Right, right. So I guess, I mean, I was in chorus in high school. I was in madrigals. I was, in the chorus of a couple of shows. My fantasy has always been to stand in front of that mic and be the lead singer in a band. That will never, ever, ever happen. So I'm curious, you get lyrics and you don't really consider yourself a singer, and you read Sam's words and you deliver this moving, haunting, mesmerizing performance. And I'm curious, like, where does that come from? How are you able to create that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, first of all, thank you for for saying that, and it's awesome that you've listened to our album that much, and we definitely appreciate it. Um, but I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know that it would be necessarily the same experience doing it with not Sam, who I know well, and like we've been writing and playing together. So I think like early on when we'd send each other stuff, and it could get a little hard to connect with like the intention behind the lyrics, but that one definitely was one where um and I didn't really get the whole like backstory or intention of it until like after I recorded it really. um but that was one where I thought it was pretty like relatable in terms of just a lot of the words themselves were very universal. So it was easy for that one. I could connect with myself as someone singing it, and I guess hearing what I wanted it to sound like in my head, right? So I guess that would be the best way to say it.
Did
Uh,
did you did you record it several times and then you landed on something that you really liked and you sent that off?
um, well, I think the first, like, I think the first time, maybe the time, so we would go back and the process was we do some rough recordings and then refine it, and then usually um I would go back and do the final vocals at the very end. That's I probably think the only song that I didn't do that. um but I did do, as I was singing what were what I was thinking were the scratch vocals is like our process was, or at least my process for recording is a ton of takes for every line, and then you kind of like splice them together to get the best ones. Especially um you know I'm sure there's better singers that don't need to do that, but I do. But so I did that with that. So that was the like early takes of that ended up becoming the album takes for that song in particular. Um, but yeah, I mean that's normally the way it goes. Or at least the way we worked this album is we did a bunch of takes, and then kind of like picked out the one, in post production, like that we thought sounded the best.
So that song of Sam's, do you have like two or three lines of that really stick out to you that you can share with the listeners?
Um, I mean, I think the chorus, honestly, like I think for me, the part that stood out the most to me, because I mean, there it does, it does repeat. There's not a lot of like different words, or the choruses don't change a lot. But Sam had this idea in the build to just sing that. I tried to save you line. And to me, recording that build, um, with especially like once we had like at least most of the music underneath, the repetition of that definitely like was probably what resonated most with me in recording it, like as it built.
So can you share with the listeners what the line is?
It's just I tried to save you,
And
or
it's
I
just
tried
kind
to
of
save you.
it's just over and over again. I tried to
Yeah,
save you. I tried to
yeah,
save you. I tried to save you.
yeah,
And that can have so many different meanings for so many different people.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So when you were singing it, is it Matt that's singing it, or do you like take on some type of a character? Or are you thinking of something else? And is it
um, I don't think it's a character or anything like that. I think it's just you know, I probably approach it in a way like in the same way like I sing along to my favorite songs, right? That kind of idea without obviously without the thing to sing along to, right? So,
yeah?
not being my words, but you know understanding the genesis of it somewhat, right? That's kind of the probably what I'm thinking of.
So when the four of you finally decide, okay, we got this, this is exactly as we want it, we put that in the can. And then you go
Mhm.
back and listen to it. When you listen to that last song on the album, what does that feel like for you?
Oh, I mean, probably when the album was all completely done?
No, that last song. I mean, I'm still so mesmerized and haunted
Oh,
by that last song.
Unsaved You? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that one in particular, like when we finally got all the instrumentation in, um, you know, I think every layer we put in, we kind of said, I don't know what else to add to this. And then we did add something to it. And then I think Nate has like three overlapping and unique cello parts, and there's piano and electric guitar and all that. So, like, I think when it was one that we kept thinking was done, and then we were adding more to it. And then I think it was kind of like once we had everything, we just knew it was done. We're like, there's nothing else we can do here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we all, especially musically, is definitely huge um, departure from our last album, which is primarily acoustic, that type of thing. So it was definitely a big jump there for us.
And so when you listen to that last song, are you satisfied? Do you think, yeah, we did it and that's good to go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think you know today you asked me, I don't know, you asked me in 2 years, maybe I'll think differently, but 100%, and like I that said, like I don't think I say that jokingly. I don't think in 2 years my opinion will change of it, but like definitely this album and the song itself, right? And then this album definitely like I think we kind of it's the best we can get right right now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 years, when you reflect back and you listen to that song, you're going to think we did a really good job. I mean, I really
Yeah.
really like that. That's good.
Yeah, and I still think that about our last album, right? Like in the songs from that, they're very different, and it's definitely like we're we're a lot better at what we collectively do have done now with this one. But still, like I don't know that there's much I would change on songs from the last one
Yeah,
either.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the name of the album is Navigate, and
Yep.
when is it going to be available?
October 9th.
And how do people find it?
It'll be on Spotify, Apple Music. You could just um, search early sixes or the early sixes on platform of choice, YouTube, Amazon, all that. Or our website's early6s.com for that too.
So there's 10 songs, and you guys selected what, I mean, I absolutely love it. You selected a song called Chase the Sun to be the first one released. Why did you guys choose that one?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it was one conscious decision that this is absolutely the lead single. There's probably a combination of reasons. Um, I mean, it was one of the earlier ones that we had done and completed for sure. And I think when we did that, we were like, yeah, this is definitely a single. Um, we thought that probably about about every song, quite honestly, is like, yeah, this could be a single too. So that like whittling down the four, which is a lot, that we're releasing as singles, was there was a lot of back and forth on how to do that and what the right mix was. But for that one in particular, I think it was just like a good for we thought it was a um, good representation that kind of bridged the last album to this one, and like the subsequent songs we'll put out too, that are a little more um a little more produced than the like more like stripped down acoustic sound of the first album. But yeah, so that I think that was part of the thinking. Also, we were kind of completing this as we got down the wire too. We kind of set a release date for ourselves, and otherwise we probably would have kept going, and iterating through these and adding songs. So it was done, it was ready, and we all felt like it was a good representation for the first like of these new sets of songs that we put out.
So obviously Chase the Sun, it's autobiographical. Why did you and Michelle and the boys, why did you move from Arlington Heights to Irvine?
Um, I mean, specifically, there was an opportunity to do that, but I think like me and Michelle had both, even before we were together, always, from the first time I'd come to California, and even before then, just from the standpoint of like, I think like a lot of people have this almost like romanticized idea of like moving to the West Coast and things like that. So um, it was definitely all of that and all of the above. And for forever, we were two kids in the suburbs with a house. So there was definitely like a sense of that ship had sailed. And then there was an opportunity to do it. That was a good opportunity for us, to move out here and kind of, as much as it was, um, you know, um, doing moving to a place that we'd always wanted to move to and live and thought, um, just a different way of life, having lived in Illinois our whole lives, even during college. Um, you know, it was as much about like the specific location as like just intentionally like choosing where you live and what your life will be, and that kind of idea.
How old were your boys when you moved?
They were 7 and 2.
And so how did the 7-year-old feel about moving to California?
He was excited. We had it was a good. It worked out well because we had happened to be here on vacation for the first time in March. Um, and we ended up moving in July. So it was still very fresh in his mind, right? And obviously we were doing all vacation stuff, so it just seemed like a blast, right? So he was a little bummed to leave. Like he has some friends school. So he was definitely bummed for that. And moving away from some family, but um, you know, overall he took it pretty well. He's pretty resilient, he's pretty easygoing.
So when I was in my 20s, in my mid 20s, I moved to Phoenix and I stayed in Phoenix for 2 years. And
Hmm.
then I had never been to LA before, but it was always, it's exactly what you just said. It was always a dream of mine to go to LA.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine and we packed up. I had a red Camaro. She had a yellow Camaro. We drove to Beverly Hills and we rented a room in the Hotel Del Flores in Beverly Hills. It was
Yeah.
probably $59 a room. And the room itself didn't even have a bathroom. You had to go in the hall and you opened up what used to be a closet, and that was the shower. So I mean, chase the sun. It's my life as well. And
Yeah.
and I spent a couple of years there, and then hightailed it back to Illinois. And then my wife and I had a daughter who died. We had two sons. My wife died. And a year after my wife died, my kids were going into first grade and third grade.
Hmm.
I packed them in the car, and guess what we did? We moved to California. So it was
Yeah.
the second time that I actually moved to Northern California, but it's the exact same thing. I mean, I was literally chasing the sun. What I love about the album is it reminds me of music that we listened to in the 70s and in the 80s when you sat around with your friends and you had the album jacket and you read the words to the songs and then you played the song again and then you discussed it. What do you
Yeah.
think they meant? Do you think they meant this or no? I think they meant that. That's what I love about this. And I want to ask you about something because in the song Chase the Sun, one of the lines is, so we leave behind everything we know. What was that like for you and Michelle to literally leave behind everything you
Yeah.
knew?
I mean, yeah, it was all the things you'd imagine. I mean, I wrote that song. So I wrote that song probably over the like 3 weeks where I was packing up. We did one of those pods, right, to move our stuff. And I probably wrote that song during the 3 weeks leading up to us leaving. And I played it for the first time in our just completely empty living room, to Michelle, my two boys. And that was the first time I ever played the song all the way through. And it didn't change, like lyrically, it didn't change quite that much um, from then to when we released it. The instrumentation, obviously, like adding all those guys to it, definitely took it to a different level. But yeah, I mean, it was all those emotions you'd imagine, like having grown up in Chicago, and very much identifying with that city as home, and even being in the suburbs, and just still, I still identify, right, as a Chicagoan in a way, right, even being here a year and some change now. So it was all those things you imagine, you know like and it's a big move, right, like with two young kids and all that. So uh anxiety and hopefulness and all that, right, um was probably what was behind that.
This is the line. I think this is my favorite line in that song. And to me, I think this is probably what helped you guys get in that vehicle and head west. Nothing amazing comes from safe. Nothing amazing comes from safe. I mean, I'm 63 years old, and that's true. Nothing amazing in life is going to come if we play it safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that came from all the and a lot of this was kind of psyching myself into making this jump, right, and doing it. And I know obviously people do things crazier than moving cross country. People move cross country all the time, right? But still, it was it's still was a big it was a lot of things, right? It was realizing something we'd wanted to do for a long time, and it was, I was always kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop for a long time. Even after we moved here, I'm like, there's got to be some, something's gonna happen. Like this worked out too well, right? That type of thing. So, um,
But you also, I mean,
yeah.
you also wrote these lines. You said, everything we need will be waiting on the other side. At the time, were you kind of hoping that was true? You weren't exactly sure?
Well, I mean, I think I was. So, I mean, when I think also in the chorus, I kind of get to that idea, and I think like, in as much as I had my own concerns about and just worry about moving to another place where we, didn't have any family. We had some friends out here, thankfully, um, but um, just knowing like, well, we have each other, we have our kids, and we're doing this together, and we've never anything else that's been thrown at us, we've gotten through, and we'll get through this if it's not as great as we hope it is, right?
Did you ever think, oh, this would be so much easier if I was single? If I was doing it by myself, it'd be easier, but I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids. You found out Michelle was pregnant. Wow, this is big.
Well, we didn't know until after we were here about the pregnancy part, so I'll take that out of the equation. But you know, I I don't know that I ever had that thought because I had plenty of opportunities to do that, right, and I didn't. So at that time in my life, so I think every if we were supposed to like do it right, like, and all the choices we made led up to us doing it now, right, and maybe if I did it when I was single, right? Like, who knows? I would could be out here. I could be somewhere else. I could, like, I could be back in Chicago. So yeah, I never really second guessed it that way, I guess.
Okay, one of the things I noticed is that the concept of light pops up in more than one of your songs. And maybe these 2 lines are, the answer to the question that I just asked you, but you say, I don't know where the light will lead, but I'm not afraid if you're next to me. So maybe it was easier for you because it's like, I'm not alone. She's right here. And somehow, some way, no matter what happens, we'll take the next step together.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, very much. I would agree with that. Yeah,
In retrospect, are you glad you made the move?
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I'm sure there will be people listening that maybe the big move is not to move to California, but in this age of the pandemic, so much uncertainty, people losing their jobs, people losing their income, losing their houses, people having to reinvent themselves. I mean, the song Chase the Sun, it's much broader than just moving to the West Coast. So what's the message to people that are on the fence thinking, should I stay safe? Should I stay safe and in the area that's familiar, or should I take the leap and do it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know that um I wrote it with the intention of a broader message, and I shouldn't say like obviously I wasn't trying to be super specific about it either. But um, and it's not lost on me that we were fortunate to be able to do this, and fortunate even through the pandemic to be okay, and still have jobs and all that stuff. So I think it's easy to sit and say just take the leap when speaking as someone who had the option to, right? So I just think what I would say is, and I guess the thing I was processing myself as I wrote it is, don't get in your own way, um, more than suggesting everyone, right? Just go, you know, go, um, throw caution in the wind completely, right? And maybe that's I'm a little more of a cautious person, but yeah, I think that's the yeah.
Did you ever sit down and think though, what do we actually have to lose by doing this? I mean, did you ever
Yeah,
think,
of
did,
course. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what did you have to lose by doing it?
I mean, we were losing our house that we, and like stability, family being close, and all that. So it, you know, there were things to lose. I don't think anything that couldn't be regained, or we couldn't, So it definitely is something, that was thought about in the decision to do it. Um,
Did
yeah.
you actually come to the point where you and Michelle kind of said, well, hey, if it doesn't work out, we'll move back? What's the big deal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's definitely that's definitely something we had in our minds. Yeah. We're fortunate enough to have options. We can always come back, right? We can always, we'll figure it out. Um,
So there's another song out there, and it has these lines that I think if someone is in a position where they're on the fence and they're not sure, should I go or should I stay? Because all you have is all you need, and where you are is where you're meant to be. I mean,
mhm.
that's the song Home.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, it's like that. Oh, okay. Wait a second. All I have is all I need, and where I am is where I'm meant to be, regardless of whether or not I'm in Arlington Heights or if I'm in Irvine. So why not go?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot that song and it's interesting. A lot of the other songs, they could fit together, in different ways, musically or thematically or lyrically or things like that. And I mean, I'm sure that's a function of us all working on them all together, right? But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's this thread that's woven from one song to the next, to the next, to the next. And for me, it is a life message. And that's, I mean, people my age, I mean, that's what we were accustomed to listening to when we were, in college and we were in our 20s. And because I can't figure out, it's like, what is it about this album that resonates so deeply with
yeah.
me?
And it's interesting. You said something earlier about you know, combing over words and lyrics and listening, so intentional. I think like, you know, um, that's how I listen to albums too. And I think you know, it's a function of finding that music that there is um, that level of attention to the specific words used that definitely um, informed our tastes and what we ended up doing when we create our own music. But I was exactly the same way, in terms of how I listen to music and the artists I listen to, um, in the what late 90s, 2000s, that time frame. um,
So Chase the Sun is the first single. What's the second single?
the second single is I'm Sorry.
And that comes out this Friday,
Yes, it comes out this Friday. Yep.
which is the 18th, September 18th.
18th. Yes.
And then the third single comes out the next Friday.
Yes, the 25th.
And what's that?
That one is Saved You. That one, the song we talked about.
It is. Oh, that Saved You is the third?
Yes.
Whoa. Wow. Yeah, I'm excited because I'm really, really looking forward to share that one with the people that follow me. And
Yeah.
then is there a fourth, or is the next one the album?
There is, so we will release the title track Navigate as a single on the 2nd of October, I believe. And then then the album comes out 2 weeks after that.
Okay. And you wrote Navigate?
Yes.
So who are you speaking to?
Um so that's, that song started, it wasn't called Navigate, and it wasn't even a song when I kind of first wrote the idea of it. But when I had, after I had my first kid, I was taking a trip, and I never really thought, worried about flying and whatever, right? And so, but I wrote like a note, just in case something happened to me, right, on the trip or while I was away, and I wrote on it, I just kind of like taped it and put it somewhere where I figured it'd be found at some point, and
Wow.
just wrote like just in case, and I found myself that was, a- my son's 9 now, so that was 8 9 years ago ish, um or he's about to be 9, I should say. But so like I would revisit it and rewrite it, and obviously as I had additional kids, so like rewrite it, and it wasn't really like any specific thing, or like I've figured out life or anything like that, but it was here's what I know, and here's like, if I'm not around, like the message I want to leave you with, kind of thing.
Wow.
um so it was called like, and then like as I like thought like, well, I always thought, man, maybe if I could figure it out. That was probably the hardest song for me to write on the whole album, obviously. And I kept like holding off even playing it for those guys, the rest of the band. I'm like, I don't want you guys to hear this until like I feel like I have it like relatively in a good place. um but yeah, I probably went through, like I was telling them, we were catching up, like like 17 pages of just different iterations of how to say certain things, um and then figuring it out musically, at least like the bass before they added the additional parts to it. um took a while. But yeah, that's kind of the genesis of that. And it wasn't called, like, I didn't have the idea of Navigate as the theme or anything like that. And I think like we were maybe like 6 songs in, and we had talked about that idea of like us creating the album, in different areas, and like being far away from each other, and like the idea of like distance and stuff like that. So that's where that like navigate, and I just had like the word navigate in my like pages of lyric notes on my phone, and I was like, I wonder if I could work that into that song. And I kind of thought of it in a different way, right, than like geographically navigating, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so yeah, that kind of helped me unlock that. And I think the idea to do this song in general is like, in a few songs on here, right, it's like a product of like 2020 and just uncertainty, and and just wanting to have that out there, right? So yeah.
So what's your oldest son's name?
Ethan.
So would you say that this song now, Navigate, that this is a letter, this is a message to Ethan and his siblings?
I would, yeah, to all of them. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I try not to be too specific, but
Yeah.
like I
Oh,
think
yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I would, that was the genesis of it, certainly.
Yeah, and this line that it sounds like it came towards the end, I promise you'll navigate. I mean, for a dad to say that to his kids, I promise you'll navigate.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, you'll figure this out. That's powerful.
Yeah, thanks.
Does Ethan have any clue that this song is somehow related to him?
I mean, he loves it. It's funny. I did this on the last album too, and it's really like buried in the mix. But I had him like sing some backup vocals like down in the mix on it, so he's technically on it. Buried down there in the vocals, so he loves that aspect of it.
Is this the only song he's on?
Yes.
So it's like this is his song.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, like, it is. What do you think? Will he tell his friends, "Hey, my dad's got a new album, and I'm singing on this one"?
Oh yeah, it's funny. He thinks I'm like like some like it's interesting to hear them like talk about our, like our band. We were watching the Super Bowl last year. He's like, "Hey, what you guys should do the Super Bowl." I'm like,
Right.
"Yeah, right." Like,
Right.
sure.
It, it's
Like,
it's Maroon 5, and then it's you guys.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, yeah, there's different levels, or every all music is valid. There's different levels of of music, right? Of opportunities to perform.
I want to tell you something else that really stuck to me, and now that you're kind of giving me the background, I knew you were writing it to someone, but it wasn't exactly clear who. So when you say, "Don't let anyone tell you you're too young or too late," I love that. It's like I'm 63. I'm not too late. If I decided I wanted to do X, Y, or Z,
Yeah,
I'm not too late. I love that. And then you say, don't take the life you get. Don't take the life you get. Do you know what the follow-up is then? Do you remember it?
be the one to choose it. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't take the
yeah,
life you get. That's so empowering, but be the one. I mean, choose your life. I mean, if every mother and every father said that to their kids, well, actually, if every mother and father believed that that was true for themselves, create your own life.
yeah,
Love it. Love it.
yeah,
Love it. Also, like this, the world can be ugly, but it's so, so beautiful too. So be who you are and don't you forget it. The bad things will change you only if you let them. It's so true. And especially in these times. I mean, I don't say this apologetically, but the pandemic has been spectacular for me because of the way I've shifted my perception. I mean, the first month, I mean, I hated it. I resisted it. I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. And then I thought, well, what if I just kind of eased into it? What do I have? I have all this time and no pressure to go here or to go here or to go here. And there's nothing on television. So
yeah.
it's me and me and me. It's been a huge, huge, huge opportunity for my personal growth. And I think in a way that's what you're saying. It's like you get to choose what you're going to do about your life. When you're lost in the dark, you'll find your way. I promise you'll navigate. So, was there someone in your life that, gave you that message, that empowered you, that no matter what came up for you, you had what you needed?
I mean, sure. There's a lot of people, right? Family and parents, and I think it's also just a product of um, what I was I guess aiming for is like, and I'm not saying like I'm wise or have wisdom to pass down, but like here's what I have learned myself, and just through life so far, right? So yeah.
So, I'm certain that Michelle has listened to the whole album.
Yes.
And what does she say about it? This is this dude I met in Depaul, and we're both in marketing, and now he's got his sophomore album. What does she say about it?
I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it's I mean, she thinks it's definitely a huge jump up from our last album, and she knows backstory definitely on songs and things like that. So I mean, she likes it. She's very yeah, yeah. She's impressed we were able to do that, especially remotely. So yeah.
I want to go back to when we were talking about you being the lead singer. Are you glad you're the lead singer? Are you comfortable being the lead singer?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I don't want to say is probably the bad a bad word to use, but I cringe at is like the label of lead singer. I enjoy singing. I love that, being that role in that band. But like you're in the band, um, but like I think like the like lead singer, there's some like intention of like you're like the leader of the you know what I mean? And it's definitely not the case, right? Like we're all pretty
Do any of the other
independent.
guys actually sing?
Yeah, Sam sings, actually, he sings backup on the album throughout, and then in the bridge on um Brand New Eyes, he sings that. So yeah.
Okay, so it's you and Sam. Sam sings backup. You're the you don't like to be called the lead singer, but you're the singer.
I'm the
You're,
singer.
you're the voice. You're the
Yeah.
you're the voice of the band. I think you have a spectacular voice, and I think you have a memorable voice. That's what's cool. It's like, oh, that's Matt. Oh, that's Matt. Oh, that's Matt. What? I mean, can you imagine a time when something happens and you go, "Hey, I'm pretty good. I like my voice. I'm a pretty good singer." Like, what would have to happen for you to be
Oh,
comfortable?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I definitely recognize that I like can um am okay enough to be representative of the album, but I don't know, I don't know. I guess, I don't know what that would be.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah,
do you read music?
I don't.
Yeah, I was stunned to hear that neither of the Zuba boys read music. The only one that does is Nate.
Yeah, I don't read music. I am completely like by ear or that type of thing. Yeah.
And what's the extent of instrument lessons that you've had, or are you all self-taught?
I haven't had any instrument lessons. I guess you could say I did kind of learn to play piano on this album, and the extent of that knowledge was what I picked up from my son's lessons that he got. So I kind of by proxy got the super beginner piano lessons. That's probably the extent of it, though.
And do you play piano on some of the songs?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm going to talk to Matt tomorrow, but what's it been like for Nate? What's it been like for Nate to be with three other musicians, none of whom know how to read music?
Probably infuriating, but no, we do rely on Nate quite a bit for like I guess you could say that's like our music education is Nate, right? He definitely like, what key is this in and what are the, and like what are the notes in the key and what does that even mean? That kind of thing. He definitely is the one to give us that guidance.
So you said he plays cello. Does he play any other instruments on the album?
Nope, just cello.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys have a cello player, I mean, to me, that really, really raises you up a notch
Yeah.
or 10. I mean, that is so beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely what we always felt was our like unique thing is Nate.
Yeah.
Only like musically his musical knowledge, but his the cello.
And then Danny said his daughter played the flute on
Yeah,
home.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, they just sent me that one day with I was like, where did this flute come from? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's Haley. I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. And I
Yes.
didn't actually, that reminds me, I don't even know if I told Dan, like when we submitted, like we credited Haley on it and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's cool. So how did the band how'd you guys get together? I mean, whose idea was that? And
So I mean, we all knew each other. We were all friends, right? And I think, um, w- when we like actually like trace this back, like we just started, I think we were playing like the video game Rock Band, is where when we started to like get the idea of, oh, maybe we should like, we all kind of play instruments, like we should like jam or something, or like we'll just like we would, before going out in Chicago, like get together and just like play instruments and before we go out that night or something like that.
So was this when you were in college or after college?
It was a little bit both, probably a little more after, like get on the tail end. Um, so yeah, it was, depending on who you ask, Sam was in college and, but yeah.
And like who was the ringleader? Who said, "Hey, we should get together again and let's do that again. Let's do that again. Let's keep it going."
I mean, I don't know if there was one. We tended to like when we started to do it a bit more. We tended to like congregate in my basement in Arlington Heights. That's where we recorded the first album. So it was, maybe a function of me being kind of equidistant with Rockford and Chicago and everyone else, in various areas. So
So you never lived in Rockford.
no.
And then your connection to those guys is through Michelle because we went to school with them.
Yeah, I would say, I would say even, probably further back, Nate, is of the band. Nate is the first person I met, inclusive of Michelle too. But yeah, that's how I kind of got into into that group of friends, that I'll still
Did
keep in touch.
did Nate
Yeah.
grow up in Rockford?
He did, yeah. Or well, oh geez, the name is escaping. Not Rockford proper, but
Okay, but
close
are
enough.
you the one though that brought Nate to the party because you met him in Depaul?
No, no. Nate knew everyone prior to me knowing everyone.
Oh,
So
okay,
Nate, I think actually was, knew people from going to Rock Valley. So
okay,
after high, yeah. So I think that's where Nate knew everyone, and then I was kind of the
yeah. So of
last.
of the four, yeah, you're the last one to enter, and you entered
Yeah.
because of Michelle.
Yeah, yeah. Or you could say because I met Nate. Me and Nate became friends, and then
Right.
that's how I met Michelle. But yeah.
Okay. So again, the name of the album is Navigate, and it comes out October 9th. What's why should someone listen to it? I mean, they've listened to us talk for almost an hour. I love it. I mean, I've listened to it, like I said, now 27 times. Every single time that I listen to it, my favorite song is different. I think you have such a unique sound to your voice. I love the instrumentation. But what I love the most is two things. One is, unlike a lot of music out there are melodies that I find myself kind of humming throughout the day. They stick with me, but the bottom line is the lyrics draw me in. I mean, they make me think and they make me wonder, and I can apply them to my life. I mean, I have a 25-year-old son. I'm a
Mm,
dad too, so the
yeah.
messages are many and significant. um, I guess, if someone said, "Hey, you got a new album, why should I buy it?"
That's good. That's a good question. I mean, trying to think of a good answer for that. I mean, I guess what I would say is, um, we put a lot of thought and work into it, and we're proud of it, and there's a lot of music out there to listen to, and we think it's something different, um, and independently produced and all that. So so give it a shot.
Yeah, I also think it has.
Yeah.
I also think it has I think it has messages for these uncertain, extraordinary times that we're living in. Unprecedented, I guess, unprecedented times that we're living in.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not something we consciously, set out to do, but I think there's going to be a lot of music that's produced during this time of everyone, like I know just from the artists I follow, like everyone's writing an album, right? And I don't think we intentionally thought this is a product of the 2020 pandemic, right? Or like about that. but you can't help but be influenced by the time period that you create something.
Yeah. Yeah. I said to Danny and Sam, having listened to it, now I would really, really like to see you guys perform it live.
Yeah.
And I realize, well, I don't know how that's going to happen. But have
Yeah.
you guys thought about it? It's like, how could you make that happen?
Yeah, so we have thought about it. And what's interesting is like a lot of people are figuring that out right now, right? We're actually actively figuring out a way to do that. Maybe not exactly live, but in a lot of ways too, with us living in different parts of the country. I kind of said to the guys, well, we're kind of on a level playing field with everyone else. No one else can go tour right now, and no one else can. I mean, some people are figuring out how to do it with drive-ins and things like that, um, but it's kind of bigger acts that are doing that right now. But yeah, I mean, we are trying to figure out a way to do that. I think we're actually like working on it this week, so hopefully we'll we'll figure it out and we will be able to do that, and going forward too.
So if somehow, some way it worked out that you could do music full time and you'd have to give up the marketing gig, how would that feel to you?
I mean, you know, it's a big hypothetical, right? Like I think I'm I'm definitely I love music, and it's something I enjoy doing, and it's something that I also enjoy because it's not my job also too when I
True.
when I
That's
think
true.
about it.
That's
Right. So I mean, you know it's a hypothetical, right? Like there's a lot that comes with it when you think about touring and being away, and right, what that is. So I do want to keep making music. I do want to put it out there, and yeah, I mean, if that was a way for that to become something, it's something I'd look at. But like, I wouldn't want to sacrifice, things I have, closeness, being able to see my kids every day, things like that, right?
yeah.
But it's, of course, anyone who picks up a guitar dreams of or thinks of that someday, right? So yeah.
It's kind of interesting though, with the pandemic and with people becoming more and more accustomed to talking to each other like this and, being entertained like this. It'll be interesting to see if it's possible to, have a really thriving career in the music industry and not have to leave your home at all.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting, right? Like, yeah, like I kind of joked earlier, like it's kind of a level playing field, but also like I, there are there is obviously like a whole industry and people and like touring people that are supported, and that's their livelihood, right? So there's a balance there, right? Of you hope it doesn't become too much that those people don't have jobs and livelihoods anymore if everyone's just remote.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I think more music and more people producing music in general, is never a bad thing.
yeah. So I'm a writer. I've written 2 books. I'm an artist. I absolutely love to produce art. And I would say, I came into the planet an artist. That's my true nature. I'm an artist. Do you feel, are you a musician?
um like in the sense of like this is what I would was here to do, kind of idea.
Yeah. I
um
mean, this like for me, I feel happiest. I feel most fulfilled. I know I'm doing what I came here to do when somehow, some way, I'm working in the area of art.
yeah, I mean, I will say like, I'm probably similar in that respect, that music is obviously a big part of it, and what I'm very passionate about doing. But all around that, right? Like I haven't done as much, but like paint, or like do like design, video, like all that type of stuff is always been really interesting to me. And I always I've always tried to figure out like why I haven't like gone super in depth in anything, but I feel like I like to do like a little like I like to do a little bit of a lot of things than a lot of one thing. Like,
Okay.
like I went through like a woodworking phase and went through, you kind of have that. But music definitely is like of all that is the constant, or has been for me, at least for the past, 10 plus years that we've been kind of doing this on and off.
Could you see a day when you're not producing music anymore, or do you think music will always have a presence in your life?
I think in some way or another, yeah. I mean, I go to mics and I see people, they're, in their 70s and 80s still just playing, right? Like,
Right.
and I think that, it, I think it's something sometimes people take breaks from, sometimes, but it's, something they come back to. So yeah, I definitely see that.
And can you see either of your sons following in your footsteps? Are either of them musical?
Um, yeah, 100%. My so my son Ethan, he started out taking piano lessons. He's in School of Rock now, and he just did his first, like, they've been doing all their lessons remote, but they did like an outdoor concert and they all wore masks and were distanced. So he did his first like outdoor socially distanced performance. And so yeah, he's probably better at the guitar than me at this point, quite honestly. But I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he's yeah. So he definitely has interest and passion. The other ones are too little to
Yeah.
tell, but
Yeah.
I can see
Hey,
that.
has Ethan ever said, "Hey, Dad, when can I play with the band?"
Oh yeah, he's already said, "Listen, when you get too old, I'm going to replace you
Okay.
as the in the early sixes. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
replace the whole band." And yeah, that's his like future plans is to
And has he
replace us.
kind of got, okay, start working on the third album penciled in his calendar?
Yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah, he's figured out like when he can replace me and I could just manage the band. And yeah.
So this is an exciting time for you guys. I'm excited for you that the October date is coming closer and closer, and the whole world's going to get to hear this incredible album.
Yeah, me too. I'm definitely, it's interesting. Like I've kind of not like I've gone a few days from, or I should say a week or so of just like, you know, life plus like just getting all the like promotional stuff we're trying to do, just to like get the album out there. I haven't sat down and listened to it that much, but I definitely need to do that again soon. Um, which is good. Like I like taking a little
Yeah,
break and
yeah.
coming
Well,
back to it.
my
Yeah.
hunch is it'll
Yeah.
sound fresh and new to you when you go
Hmm.
back to it. Do you
Hmm.
like will the four of you guys, the guys in the band, will you do anything significant on the ninth when the album is released?
We have. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. We haven't talked specifically about what that is, but I'm sure we will. Yeah.
So the name of the album is Navigate, and they can go to your website.
Yep. Yep. First single's out now, and then there's like, you could pre-save it on Spotify, or if you follow us, it'll show up on your release radar and all that fun stuff.
And the name of the band is Early Sixes. Google it. You can find the website. You can find the album.
Yep.
Thanks for spending an hour with me, Matt.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks
I
for having us all on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I really, really look forward to the day. Who knows when it's going to be, when we'll actually all be in the same room and we'll get to hear you guys play this live.
Yeah. I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, take good care.
You